And I would like to preface this entire live stream by saying that The Dying of the Light was one of the first books I read of November. October. I don't even know where we are now. That I'm genuinely worried I'm going to have forgotten something because it's been a whole month. A whole month longer than it could have been.
Put it this way, I had to ask Abby how it ended because I'd forgotten, and she's finished it yesterday. I'm pointing in the wrong direction. Sorry.
Like, where are we?
She's on this side on my screen, but this side I need to point at.
That's how it works.
Wherever she is.
But anyway, hello and welcome to the ninth. I had to check the book number then. The ninth DeaDFamous read along. Do we call it a grand finale? Because it is a finale to a season, isn't it?
Yeah. Series 1.
Yeah, but then there's so many more books.
It was written as a finale.
So. Season finale of Skullduggery Pleasant. Do you want to introduce yourselves, or should we just go straight in? I'm not even going to do the non-spoilery bit, by the way, today, because it's the last book. Anyone watching it who hasn't read the first few books of Skullduggery, where have you been? We've been doing this for nearly an entire year, so we're just going to go straight in. Just straight in. So, did you want to introduce yourselves? That was the question.
I mean, again, if people...
I'm Abby. I have very bad internet. I'll probably be interrupting everyone. Blame the storm. My internet's usually very good.
You used to interrupt people even without bad internet, so...
Exactly, it's going to be even worse now.
Amazing. Lizzie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Lizzie, from Lizzie Herself there. And I kind of muddled my way into this read along by catching up within 1 month. I don't remember what book number that was, but I really enjoyed it. So I am now here for the duration.
I was going to say, to be fair, I feel like it was more that you were bullied into trying Skullduggery, and then you kind of yes, I will eventually. When I catch up, I'll join. I'm like, cool, we're on book 6, catch up. And you were just like, oh, okay. That's how I roll. To be fair, Kieran, my brother, was telling me yesterday that he got his friend Simon to read the first of the Skullduggery Presents just because he needs someone else to talk to about it, because obviously he's on book 13 now. I'm still only on book 9. So he needs someone else to read it so that he can go back and talk about stuff. And I was like, I love that for you. But apparently Simon was very excited to read the first one in Skullduggery Present. So I'm really glad it's making a comeback. Anyway, Becca, would you like to introduce yourself as well before I interrupt you?
Well, hi, I'm Becca from the Book Sanctum, and I apologise right now if you hear trains or coughing or also building work, because my neighbours have decided that they're going to build their kitchen today.
Oh,
so there's been drilling, there's trains going past and all the rest of it. So apologies for any noise you hear that isn't me talking.
Fair enough.
Just in case.
Okay, cool. And I'm Hannah. Obviously, I'm the host of this. I'm assuming you know who I am if you're on my channel. But yes, The Dying of the Light. We always start with our ratings. So what did each of you rate it? We'll start with you, Abby, because otherwise you'll interrupt everyone else. So you go first. You gave it 5 stars. I don't think it deserved anything less.
But I hated it. I really despised one bit that I've already mentioned to Lizzie and Becca, and I despised when I read it the first time. This was a reread for me. So we will get to that.
Interesting. I can't wait. Lizzie, would you rate it?
5 stars.
Yeah. And Becca?
5 stars.
Yeah, I gave it 5 stars too. It was nearly a 4.5, and then it made me cry. And I don't know if you know this, I have a blanket rule that if a book makes me cry, it gets 5 stars.
Yeah, it didn't make me cry. Because you told me that it made you cry, and I was like, oh, because I read it, and the entire time I was like, what's going to happen where it made Hannah cry? And then I was like, oh, okay. I gave it 5 stars because of the whole misdirect. The whole thing was a misdirect, and I fucking loved that. And that was
very clever.
That's what made me give it a 5 star, was the misdirect.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah. And the thing is, right, I know I'm an emotional person. I'm not a particularly emotional reader, so I know a book is good if I cry. I cry at films and stuff, but if I go to the book, I can put it down and I can pick it up again. And there's like, in the same way that books don't scare me in the same way films do, I can kind of like emotionally detach a little bit. So if it makes me cry, I know it's good, and I'm not going. They got me. And in fact, because it's a spoiler thing, I feel like I can just say, when Skullduggery put his hat on Valkyrie, that is what made me cry. It was that moment where I was just like, it's so beautiful and it's so sad. And then yeah, the plot twist at the end, and I was like, I was still crying, and I was like, you got me. Well done.
That cracked me up.
Well
that
done.
whole part cracked me up. Whereas, like, well, they didn't say who had to be willing, and I was like, wow.
So
Okay.
It's so clever. And it's set up of it because you've got Skullduggery asking, like, so it's just got to be a sacrificed soul. Like that's it. Those are the rules. That's it. So clever. Go on, Becky, you're gonna say something?
The thing was I was sitting there because obviously I've read this book as well. This was a reread, but I couldn't remember basically anything from this book. But I knew I was sitting there going, it's either this person or this person. I can't remember who it is who goes in, and then I couldn't remember how it happened either. So then when that happened, I was like, ah, right, that did not come back to me.
I really enjoyed that moment. It's just
yeah, I was just like, oh my god,
yeah,
I got this entirely plot twist.
I knew that Skullduggery didn't die at that point, but I couldn't remember what happened either. So I was like, okay, so is it because like it's a soul willingly given, but he's like half dead as it is? Like, is it something? No, they just fucking yeeted someone else in there.
See, I thought he was going to die because I had misheard something Kieran had said, because Kieran was talking to me about it, because obviously he got to it before I did, and he was like, of course it's really sad when you think Skullduggery is going to die. Now, I didn't hear him say, you think Skullduggery is going to die? And Kieran then immediately shut up because he was like, oh, I'm sorry, that's a spoiler. And I was just like in my head, I was like, oh my god, Skullduggery dies. That's how this, and like, fair enough, he can come back in the next season, but if that was like the end of the book where they thought they were going to leave it, I was like, he's going to die. He's going to die. So when he does like, that's why when he puts his hat on her head, I was like, that's his swan song. That's his final goodbye. And then I started crying like an absolute child. And then yeah, when at the end, and she's like, didn't have to be a willing soul, like it wasn't him, like because he just like rocks off outside, and I was like, you bastard. Like, genius.
It was just the most. It was like the most Skullduggery thing he could have done as well. It was just like, I'm not going to sacrifice myself. That arsehole can go.
I've still got shit to do. Like, that for me, the vibe wasn't necessarily that he's not willing to sacrifice himself. He's not willing to sacrifice Valkyrie, who was like, yeah, I'll throw myself in. That makes sense. And it's like, no, it's all right. We've got this guy who's fucked us over several times. We'll throw him in instead.
But what cracked me up was like, why did you take off your hat to do that? Like that was harsh. Like, Derek Landy, why did you go to that length of like, yeah, you're gonna make like no, like if you're gonna do your swan song, like just walk in with the hat on. It's part of your persona. So in my like, I was like, wow, that was they went there, and then then
went there.
Like, actually lols, no, we're just gonna tuck in Rabble instead. Like, it's fine.
Or do you think he did that, and one of his original plans was to kill Skullduggery, and then his hat was going to be like Vile's armor, so then he could come back? Because that could have been quite fun. It's like a good version and a bad version.
It was like earlier in the book where he lost his hat, and he was pissed that he lost his hat. He was like, Ghastly made me that, and it's gone. Now this suit doesn't have a hat, so I thought it was being like, I ain't risking no hat.
I'm not risking a hat. The thing is, though, all of those could be true, right? It could all be true. It could be a case of like, I'm not risking my hat. I'm also not risking putting my hat on the floor, because who knows? Maybe it will get blown in anyway. So I'm going to put it on Valkyrie's head. Now, Valkyrie is reading more into this because, you know, he's notoriously bad at giving gifts. Thus far, he's given her 2 sticks. One slightly more useful than the other, but essentially he's given her 2 sticks. So for him to put a hat on her head is a big deal, even if he's just like, I don't want to lose this. So I feel like that's the genius of Derek Landy, is they can all be true at the same time.
Definitely. I loved that bit so much.
I love the little fight they had before, where they're both willing to sacrifice themselves. Made you exactly,
Yes.
and no, this was before that film, so even better. But
Which
yes,
just makes it worse because that is the moment I start crying in that film.
well, yeah,
They get to the
obviously.
planet and I'm gone, and
Yeah.
I will be gone for the rest of the movie.
It's very sad. That's fair. That's fair. Now, as you may remember, last month Lizzie was the only one who didn't know anything about the book and therefore came up with a whole bunch of bingo prompts for us, which were then organised by me on these horrible orange. You printed it out. Amazing.
I've still got mine. I'm just
I
opening
don't
it
know
now.
if you noticed, but there were actually things ticked off.
Oh, I got bingo. I forgot to tell you guys.
Yeah. So that,
You got
well, I
bingo, no fair.
I did get a bingo because there were certain things that happened. I've also
I'm
got one where I
debating
put a
whether
question mark
something
on.
counts.
I
So-
have a question mark because I wasn't sure if it counted.
Amazing. We will
So-
discuss. But usually I have my notes next to me that I've made. But I think we should start with notes a la bingo board. Because why
Hello,
not?
bingo.
Alabongo build. So the first one is come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. Was that said? Yes. Yes, it was. Go on, Abby.
Page 541.
Oh, have you made a note of when? That's really cute.
Didn't that happen before as well? Didn't Tanith say, come on then, at one point earlier as well?
Yeah, when she's
Yeah.
still with the remnant, she doesn't actually say it. She only says it, I think, when she's freed of it. How did we feel about the freeing of the remnant? That storyline.
I knew it was coming.
Well,
I
yes,
was like,
obviously.
I was
Thank you, Becca. That was the one bit of information I didn't need from you. I knew you'd see this before.
No, because I couldn't remember anything, but I was certain from like book 6 onwards that she was going to get cured from the remnant. I was like, something's going to happen. She's going to
She
get
has
cured.
been saying this for books and books and books. She said it every single time. She messages me. She's like, why is Tanith not fixed yet? I know she gets fixed. And I'm like,
Because it's for the season finale.
Yeah. I was like, yay! Finally! Tanith is back. Love Tanith.
Yeah, I really appreciated it. And actually, it was one of those things where I wasn't entirely sure it was
heartbreaking
gonna
that it's
happen.
after Gatsby has been murdered.
I know, that was so heartbreaking when she like kind of just, it's almost like waking up from a coma. She has no recollection of any of the things that have changed, and they're all really like weird with her because they have had experience with her since then, and it's just, yeah, that was hard to watch, not gonna lie.
I was just
Oh,
sitting
wait,
there going, no, I don't want to read this bit.
Mm.
They go
What do you
down.
think, Lizzie?
I kind of liked Tanith as a remnant.
You do like a villain story, don't you? So
Well, kind of, especially because she was doing her own thing. Like, she was beginning to act more like Tanith anyway. Even with, like, yeah, she was still kind of, like, out there for herself and everything, you know, like that. But I kind of enjoyed that. And I was like, when Darkest, like, ripped out the remnant and then was, like, fixed her afterwards, I was like, why? Why, though? Why, though, Darkest? Why? You know that this person was plotting against you. And also, I was assuming, I don't know, I think the Valkyrie Darkest thing, considering Valkyrie wasn't there, why did she suddenly care about all these people? I'm like, you're supposed to be this person who just wants to play around with things. And I don't know if she did it just because she could. I can't remember it that well. Yes, Abby, what would you like to say?
I wasn't sure if my internet had disconnected, so I was just checking.
No.
Oh, it's fine. So you're interrupting in a different way this time, is what you're saying.
Yes, there's also a massive delay. There's definitely a very big delay in when I say something and when you guys get to hear it.
Oh, it's not delayed for me.
No,
You say
that's
it and then I
really-
hear it.
Yeah, same.
There's about 3 seconds, so I will definitely be interrupting, not even intentionally, but just because I'll start talking and then you'll start talking and then you'll hear me.
Sweet. All right. So let's go back to talking about Tanith then, and see if we could bring it back around. So yeah, I think. Sorry, the sky outside is a really weird color, and that really distracted me. the thing with Tanith, I do agree with you. I think it was the fact that it was kind of built up that they were going to fix themselves. But I do want to say that the way Darkess put her hand in people's throats and ripped monsters out, it's the description of like cracked ribs and all this other stuff where I was like, Landy, chill out.
What was
Yeah,
even
it's definitely not a middle grade anymore.
No.
I would have said that, like, it's possibly because he's been watching Alien or something like that with, like, the face huggers or something. Or because of, like, the chest bursting out. I don't know. But then I watched that film Life last night with Ryan Reynolds, and that creature just goes straight down and eats. Yeah, it was nightmare fuel, and now I'm like, ugh, just thinking about it.
I hate that. I keep getting shivers, and I keep thinking it's because of the book. I think it's because my room is cold. I might, if I just randomly put my dressing gown on over my jumper, don't come for me.
No,
I've got a blanket.
I am in bed.
Sweet.
But I also think that Tanith being released from the Remnant, not until she was already almost becoming someone like who Tanith was pre-Remnant, that's also very Landy but very cruel.
Mm.
I do think it's good that she's not, like, I like that she got cured, but I was just kind of like, oh, but we were getting somewhere a little bit more interesting with it. It wasn't just Tanith being like evil for the sake of being evil. She was starting to have like a moral compass. And then it was like, okay, actually, Darkaz is going to solve everyone's problems and then put Tanith back together, because why not? Like, I almost felt like I would have been less disappointed if Darkaz had left Tanith dead, even though Tanith is one of my favorites. I don't want that taken out of context. But it would have made more sense to me with Darkaz's character if she'd left Tanith dead. Because before, when she's done stuff, it's been like Valkyrie's anger and Valkyrie's annoyance. So to me, it just felt a bit like, this person plotted against you, but you're going to put them back.
Well, this is the thing, is like the way that Tanith plots against Darkess anyway isn't like, it's not anti-Darkess, right? And Darkess always had respect for Tanith because Tanith's like, yeah, cool, we're all gonna die. Sweet. Like, it's just the no bullshit level of it. And it's just a case of, okay, but you are now hurting people that Tanith cares about. Feels jarring because we don't expect that from the Remnant. And the idea that they are kind of becoming one or have become one or whatever, and have been together for 3 years makes sense. I think it was quite a well-placed plot twist because as far as Darkess goes, we have seen her destroy things, but every time she talks to someone about why she's destroyed it or why she's killed someone or what she's done, it's an exploration. She's trying things out. She's having a look at how things work. She wants to know how people's magic works so she can take it on herself. So it is a logical next step for her to go, okay, well, after I've learned to take things apart, I then have to learn to put things back together. And I really liked that her story for her ended with her being, I've created a world that I've destroyed and put back together. Now I'm going to make another world, and I'm going to go to that place where these people fear me, and I'm going to fix them because I can learn nothing new with this world. Those chapters, though, where you're just like, oh, she's killed everyone, and it's like, but actually it's all in her head, were both very clever and very frustrating, because I was just like, I had to suspend my disbelief more in those chapters than I did in any other part of the book.
That's the bit I hate. That is the bit that I hated when I first read the book, however many years ago, and that is the bit that I hated when I reread it. It feels like a cop-out. And the thing is, if you actually discuss the plot point and like discuss kind of how it happened, it sounds clever, but it just feels like a cop-out.
It's almost like they wanted to wrap it up because they've been building her up and making her more and more impossible to destroy. Like, you physically can't kill her, so tricking her is the only way. But I kind of feel like if she understands how things work and she recognizes when a remnant's in her head, how does she not recognize that this is an illusion?
And she can constantly feel Cassandra's hand on her head, because that's referenced multiple times. She's like, I still have that weird feeling, as if Cassandra was still holding my head. How weird. I'm like, bitch.
Yeah, she's not stupid.
But do you think possibly subconsciously she was like, well, I've learned everything from this world. I'll see what they're going to do. And then when it was like, oh, I can go into this new world, I've got new things to do, I'll go with. As a sort of subconscious thing.
So basically you're suggesting that Darkess was subconsciously okay with leaving the reality behind.
Yeah. Because like there was other realities with other things to learn and destroy and sort of play with.
I think that if she had come to, I was going to say consciousness, but that's not right, like realization, if she'd realized what was happening, they would have had to beat her up again and have her at least down. She's never out, but down. And then possibly she would have been like, okay, I'll do it anyway. But like at the same time, she would never be happy until she's done what she's decided she wants to do. She decided she wanted to destroy the entire universe. So she has to do it.
Yeah.
Which is why it's a clever solution, but it's also a cop-out.
Yeah, it does. It feels cheap. And I think it's the thing that so many other things are so well established. And I did like the fact that it wasn't, and it was all a dream, in that we don't see those little moments where we're flitting between what Skullduggery is saying of like, is it holding, like things like that. She's waking up, where all those little clips. So you do know something's going on. That is at least bedded in, which is probably the only redeeming feature of it for me. But
if it hadn't have done that, I think I would have thrown that hard back.
But I don't think it would not have taken her long. Like if she can move between alternate planes anyway, because we've seen her do that before. Again, that's bedded in. What would it take for her to realise 2 seconds after she got there that she's been tricked and coming back and fucking everyone over?
Well, to be fair, I think that was handled because they said that she wasn't powerful enough to destroy the whole universe, but they managed to make her think that she was, and that she used the last of her power, because she's still recovering, to open up the portal. So then she would have to recover.
But if
so
she,
they said basically she's used up all her power, she'll need to recover, and then she should be able to take on 1 or 2 faceless ones, is something that they said.
Right.
So then she would then have to build up her power again to open the portal again, which is fine, but 1, will she be able to do it if she's in her head? She's like, oh, I only did it because I was being controlled. Because she could be psyched out. And then 2, would she even care by that point? Because she would have the fancy new toy of the faceless ones, which is so much to learn.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just it's a risk, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, if she does decide that killing the faceless ones is not as interesting as getting revenge, something that she has been known to do before, you know, the torture of a certain character for killing another certain character, for example, you know, she can be malicious. I just think it felt cheap that there were so many opportunities for her to just
I like that. That's how Landy did, like, the kind of revenge on Ravel. I like that he was like, okay, so you get to enjoy the fact that this man who's killed one of your favorite characters is suffering, but you also don't have to feel guilty because it's the bad character doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Anything else to add on that point before I go to the next thing on our bingo board?
No.
So the next thing is Stephanie gets a smack.
This is what I'm not sure about, because like she's dead, so does that count?
She gets
a smack as well. She gets into a couple of
gets a smack.
She got smacked down.
Yeah,
she got like down.
Yeah.
Also, you guys know I had a thing about Stephanie in the fucking reflection. I didn't like her. But I also really had a heartbreaking moment when Fletcher and Valkyrie are right there.
Yeah.
And as she's dying, I was like, oh my god, Derek Landy, I didn't care about this character at all, and I've been waiting for this moment. Did you have to be so brutal?
Right? It's like, it was a real be careful what you wish for moment, because I was like, oh, no one gives a shit about her. She can just die. And it's like, oh no, she literally can. And nothing is like, that was brutal.
And seeing how Fletcher reacted to it as well was
Yeah, I'd like to point out that on my bingo board, the Fletcher makes a bad relationship choice is next in that row.
Yeah.
Fletcher made some bad relationship choices. There's a fucking
Mine is underneath, and I simply wrote Stephanie.
Yeah.
Yes, what the fuck? She's not. She's a fucking reflection. Fletcher, what the fuck are you doing? You
She's a reflection
absolute
of your
moron.
first girlfriend. She's a reflection of your
it's like-
first girlfriend. No.
It's like dating one identical twin and then jumping to the next one.
No, it's worse than
It's
that.
worse.
Because it's not like he dated them one after the other. It's the fact that he dated someone else who tried to kill him in between and then was like, well, that didn't work out. Let's go back to what I'm familiar with, except she doesn't want to date me. And this other thing thinks they want to date me because she did. Because like the feelings that Stephanie has for Fletcher are not Stephanie's feelings. They are a mirror image of the feelings Valkyrie had before all the shenanigans and things like that, and like taking on the emotions. Because we know that Stephanie had her first kiss before Valkyrie did. Because like way back when, they have like, she has like a kiss with this boy at school. So Stephanie is capable.
My first kiss. So yeah.
And Stephanie is capable of having an emotional relationship with someone besides Valkyrie, outside of who Valkyrie is, because Stephanie is creating memories of her own. And it's those things that drive her to think, I'm a human being, because I'm having these moments separate to the person. I'm able to keep my thoughts and feelings separate. So why the fuck are you dating your ex-boyfriend, as far as you're concerned? And why would you date someone who thinks those things? She's not a real person. She's sentient AI, right? She thinks she's a real person. And that is so dangerous. Why would you date that? Like, I can't understand.
If she hadn't been like a mirror of someone, like it's worse that it's Valkyrie. It's so much worse that it's Valkyrie. But if she hadn't been a mirror of anyone, if she had been created like AI, if they'd made a body, like they've got Dr. Nye, like if they'd made a body and put a reflection-like consciousness in it and it then developed, I would be all here. I'd be like, yes, 100% love it. Like, Fletcher, you date that thing, go for it, it's fine. I've also been reading Murderbot, which may be skewing my opinion. But then, when it's someone else, it's the fact that it is someone else. Like, yes, she's her own person, but she is also Valkyrie. And
I think Fletcher should just stop dating anyone because it's just not working out. I think he should just be a lone wolf. He should go on with the Monster Hunters and just fucking have a great life without all these women because they just keep on stabbing him and not being real.
Fletcher is the Skullduggery equivalent of Sam Winchester, whereas instead of all of his girlfriends dying, they all try to kill him. Or they die. Or a mixture of both. Like, he's Sam Winchester. Like, he's Sam. He is Sam.
He is. I don't know. I like Fletcher a lot more than I did when I first met him in the books.
Yeah.
But also every time
me and Becca were waiting for you to like him more because we did the same thing. He starts out as an annoying, whiny know-it-all. But, like, this is the last book that Becca's read, I think.
Yeah.
But, like, it's technically a spoiler, but also, like, you know it's coming anyway. The development continues with Fletcher in the way that it's going.
Yeah, I do like him, but I'm also like, just stop dating people. Like, you don't need to be a romantic interest to be interesting. Like, you don't need that in your life. Just go and be a lone wolf with the monster hunters and kill some things.
Well, he's already being an ex-machina because he rocks up just to get people out of danger anyway.
Yeah. But the thing is that does anybody else now want a spin-off of the Monster Hunters and Fletcher?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Like,
I want the book.
Yeah. How good would that be? To just watch the three of them monster hunting.
It has the same feeling of ghost faces from Supernatural if Castiel joined them.
Yes.
You've got a very similar love life, I'm not gonna lie.
Well, I was just saying he's like Sam, isn't he? But all of his girlfriends try to kill him instead of they die. He's Sam.
But then they die as well, other than Valkyrie, but you know.
Mm. Or they're just murderous.
Or they're murderers. If
But yeah, so Fletcher definitely made a bad relationship choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Under the house death pit.
Yes.
It came back.
Yeah.
You guys made good predictions. Like, I was sat here when you made them, like, oh damn. Okay,
That-
we're gonna get a few stuff.
That whole sequence though, where they used that as Darkest's body, I was like, oh dang, guys, you need to keep an eye on these reflection bodies, guys. Like, you just left Stephanie lying there when you found her, and what, you decided to come back? Like, what the? How did you lose her? Did you just think she got up and walked away? Like,
To be fair, I don't think that they were keeping the biggest eye on the morgue.
I mean, that's true.
Yeah,
Which is no, like, yes, but like one that would actually probably happen, like IRL.
But I mean, with people like Dr. Nye around, wouldn't you just have all of the bodies under lock and key?
He's supposed to be locked up.
Yeah, I know, but there's people like Dr. Nye, and like you've had Scapegrace and people like this just walk in.
Yeah, but if you're too busy trying to save a life,
They rolled in.
Yeah, they did roll in. They didn't walk in. That's the point.
Well, they did.
Priorities, doesn't it? Really.
Yeah. Semantics.
I was going to say about dead bodies going off.
But I did like the death pit and the return of the death pit. It was fun.
Can we talk
Becca,
about
whatever you're eating,
Gordon
you're not
Edgley in the death pit?
What?
Gordon Edgley in the death pit, and the fact that you find out that he has been erased. That broke my heart.
That broke my heart. I was like, no, don't
I
do
forgot
like
it
that.
happened. So many of the deaths in this book, I forgot they happened, and every time, as it was leading up, is when my brain remembered. And I went, fuck, so many times. Just like, why do you keep killing people?
It was so sad because it's so sudden. Again, she doesn't get to say goodbye, and it's like she's been living with this person basically that she has already had to mourn once and then got back, and now she's never going to see him again.
Like that, he was meant to be forever. That is supposed to be life. Like he was supposed to live forever in that little echo zone.
And he's the only one really of her family that will do.
Because unless Skullduggery was murdered, then he's going to be immortal as well, unless he's murdered. So he always was going to have company. So Stephanie didn't even have to feel bad that he was in this weird immortal state. Like, it was perfect. She had family that would stay with her as she aged.
Mm-hmm. Or didn't. Because the thing is, she's not going to age. Now that she's a sorceress, she's not going to age. Like, she's going to reach a certain point, like Tanith, and be like 80 years old and still look like she's in her 20s. Like, that's what's going to happen. So the fact that she lost Gordon, like, there's so many layers to that that loss.
She did spend 5 years in the US. I'm assuming not doing magic. I'm assuming that when she was in that house, that there was very little, if no, magic being used.
But she was supposed to age at about 25 anyway, and this would have been her at about 25 by the time she leaves the house. So now...
So she'll have at least aged to that point. That's it, though.
It's sad. Anyway.
25 forever.
So my next thing is Gordon gets sacrificed, and I have ticked that off because I feel like as much as it's not he chose to sacrifice himself thing, I feel like Darkest sacrificed him to get under Valkyrie's skin and to find out what Valkyrie knew.
I wasn't sure about this one.
Right, I will cross that one off because I didn't cross that one off originally.
I allowed it because I feel like even if it wasn't like a traditional sacrifice, he is completely slammed to the slaughter is what I'm trying to say. Slammed to the laughter. I've just really been struggling speaking English this week. It's not like it's my first language / only language or anything. I just can't speak it. So, Next is a really easy one for me. Skullduggery is sarcastic.
Yeah.
I think we just wanted to guarantee we would all get a point at that, for that one.
I even made a little note. Basically, I used this as my bookmark when I read it, which is why it's all concertinaed. So I made a little note. The first point where he is sarcastic is where that he says that doors are for boring people. Again.
Yes.
That's his first sarcastic moment in the book.
I love that. And I love that gets a callback as well, because I'm pretty sure he says that in book 1. And then Valkyrie says something to him like later on about doors being boring.
Yeah, it's like a constantly repeated joke.
It's almost as good as the sparrows fly south for winter shenanigans. It's doors for boring people.
This book was filled with so many little callbacks to previous books. If you notice, it was so good to just be like, oh, reference. Like, Abby's gone.
Usually, Abby does this if there's a spoiler. But I imagine it's just internet. Is it a spoiler issue or Abby?
I was blowing my nose.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
we could have used some heads up. Not gonna lie, because usually you do that if there's a spoiler. And I was like, but we're not talking about the next book yet. Where have you gone?
I just needed to blow my nose, so I didn't think that would be auditorily or visually appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Heads up next time.
I didn't even get to finish blowing my nose. I was halfway through because you were like, is everything okay? Yes. Blowing my schnoz. Speaking of, sparrows fly south for the winter.
Mm-hmm.
I got
page 116.
Nice.
In the hardback.
And that was my that was my line of all of those were on the second line, and that was my bingo.
I've got 2 bingos.
I've got 2 bingos. I've got 2 bingos as well.
I've got 1.
I got 1. I got 3. I got 3 bingos.
And
it was pure coincidence. It was pure coincidence. I've got 2 down, 1 across.
That's annoying.
And I know you're going to think that I did that for myself. I didn't, because I obviously sent these before I'd even started the book. So.
Actually, no, I did get 2. Ignore me. I just realised I didn't.
Becca can't count. Great.
No, it was just more the fact that I didn't cross 1 off and I should have done.
Okay. Next on my list is Steph uses the scepter on Dark S. I mean,
Never. Not once.
That doesn't happen.
Steph was too busy being dead.
She does. Yeah. She does attempt to use the scepter several times.
She does too. She does try to, but she's too.
Like this is not using.
No. How do we feel about baby Alice now being in control of the scepter?
I forgot that bit happened.
Why the fuck does Valkyrie fucking murder her baby sister? What the actual fuck was that plot point? I was reading that. I was going, no.
Thing is, though, like it does go to show. It sets up obviously Skullduggery's thing later. Both of them are prepared to sacrifice people. Now Valkyrie, because it's her sister, obviously was desperate to bring her back. But it's just the betrayal of it. And I can't fucking wait to see that play out in the future, because there's no way Alice won't know.
But yeah,
there's
no way. And I'm like, no fucking, no, like, I can understand why you were hiding in America for 5 years, because you fucking murdered your baby. Oh, what?
Yeah.
That was one of the most brutal things I've ever read, that whole scene. Because it's just like, what if you can't bring her back, though, Valkyrie? Like, you are going to have to explain to your parents that you fucking killed her. Yeah. And for what? The use of a weapon that essentially is useless against Dark S anyway, so...
Yeah. Abby and Becca, nothing to say? Nothing to add?
Well, I don't know anything. So okay. I'm fine. I'm just, like, still reeling from the fact that she killed her.
Yeah, I mean, she did bring her back, but I don't think that's I feel like that's not a good enough caveat. So I just felt like it needed mentioning. Yeah, that was a fucking brutal scene, and it was one of those things where I was like, "Don't do it." Realize at the last minute, fine, that it's a bad idea, but I think it really showed just how fucking immature she is. That she was like, "I don't have any power. I'll have to do this." No, you don't. And like do her parents know? Like, I don't remember. I don't think her parents ever found out. Like, as parents, knowing that your child killed that's Cain and Abel shit. Like, that's, you know. Whew. Anyway, the next plot point on my bingo board was trying to get to Nap. Well,
No.
Trying to get to Hazanap.
Yes, trying to get Hazanap. However, I think it was on Lizzie's or Becca's that you put trying to get Sval back.
I got trying to get Sval back.
I got trying to get Sval back as well. Which technically she does, but I didn't cross it off, so that's...
Neither did I.
Because I didn't really think that it was correct. Well, it was, but it wasn't, because they kind of fucked up getting Val back. Like, they really fucked that up. So I don't think it really counts in my head.
No.
Yeah, China thought she got Val back, and then turns out it was Darkess all along.
It was Darkess all along. Sorry.
Are you seeing that it was Agatha all along?
Yeah. Don't get that in my head again.
Sorry. I couldn't help it. I'm sorry. Moving swiftly on.
Okay, so the next thing is
it was only Skullduggery though who realised it was Darkess.
Yeah, there was something off about her, but he couldn't work out what it was.
Yeah, but the fact that he still my thought was he should know, because obviously he's also got the Lord Vile dark side, so he should have been like.
But
we're a tricksy arsehole.
Like speaks to like and all that bullshit.
Yeah,
but in the same breath, though, she could have just been being off because she was evil for the last couple of months and coming to... Like, that could have also been an explanation where he probably would like, oh, you know, logically, she has been evil for months and killing people and doing all these horrible, insidious things. It's going to take a minute to get used to, like, to come to terms with that. So...
Indeed.
I agree, though, he should have known because Darkess isn't that good an actor.
She's really not. She's really not honed her craft, has she?
I like
you've been in this person's head for a long time and you don't know anything about her. Cool.
I like that Stephanie had to teach both Darkess and Val, depending on the point in the book, kind of like, no, everyone hates you now. And both of them are like, wait, you've had to deal with this? Like, this entire time, you've had to deal with people hating you because you look like me?
Yes, interesting. Speaking of which, God Killers. They did make an appearance.
I picked it.
I would like to point out that what's his face, Sanguine, had so many opportunities to kill a whole bunch of people and didn't, which is the most unsanguine behavior ever.
It's when he thought about it. When, like, Darkess was resting or something, and he was like, oh, I've got, like, the dagger on me, I could just kill. It's like, why didn't you, though? You had the opportunity.
And he's not one to hesitate. That's what I found so bizarre. And it felt like plot armor, really, that it's like, well, it's a main character, so we can't actually kill her off. But you should have.
I always felt like it was because of Tanith.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like, no, because then Tanith would be pissed.
But I do feel like that, like you said earlier, it makes sense, but it feels like a cop-out.
That felt more like a cop-out than the other thing felt like a cop-out to me. Only because I felt like Sanguine did stuff for his own gain, and like Tanith was starting to not agree with everything that Darkess was doing anyway. So I almost feel like Sanguine not doing it because he thought it would piss off Tanith isn't really a good enough excuse to, because Sanguine is you know, he would kill anyone for the right people. So,
But also Tanith's reaction when he dies.
I completely forgot he died. I completely
forgot. I was like, oh, he'll be fine. Not fine.
I was just like, wait a minute, I now like you. Now you've died.
Yeah, it was bizarre because it was another one of those of like, I didn't care about you, but now I care that you're dead. What is this?
it did make me sad when Tanith was Tanith again, and Billy was like, "Yeah, we're friends," and Tanith was like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "Oh god, dude, that must cut deep."
But also, like, he didn't even try to be like, yeah, no, we were dating, because he knew that would be too much of a leap.
Yeah,
So he was just like trying to retain something. He was like, yeah, no, we were friends. We were partnered.
See, this is why it's interesting that it's a middle grade / YA and not an adult novel, because there are adult themes attributed to two adults being in a relationship and one being sentient to it and one not being that. And her waking up, like if you think about it from like an adult's perspective, this is probably me thinking about this way too much in general. But when he's like, yeah, we're friends, it also to me like feels like he's guilty. Like he never thought that he would get this Tanith back, right? After the 3 days are up, the remnant is attached. This is the Tanith that he's going to be with forever, and he loves what a fucking bitch she is. So they probably, as adults, had an adult relationship because she's using him for everything else. So why wouldn't she use him for that as well? He's described as hot, so like fair enough. But then this person comes back who doesn't remember him, and if he tells her that's part of the relationship they had, like that's rapey vibes.
Little bit, yeah.
It is. But then I don't think that was the intent. It still gives the rape vibes. But when I read this when I was younger, that's not.
That's what I'm saying. It's like as a kid, you wouldn't read into that, right? Like it's more like me as an adult thinking about this contextually as they are two adults, they're in a consenting relationship, and then the consent has been rescinded because actually that person could not have consented the entire time because whilst it was their body, it was not their mind. They don't remember anything.
I do think it's interesting though that he didn't try and push a relationship on her now, though, that he was very much like he backed off really quickly when he realized that she was not even like remotely interested. And like obviously what happened to him after that kind of, you know, that sucked, but I did think like as a respectful way of like dealing with a breakup, in because like for him, for Sanguine, it was a breakup. For Tanith, it was you, who are you? But I mean, like looking at it from like their history, I thought it was really interesting the way that Sanguine acted and didn't like throw a tantrum or didn't get like really angry, which I just thought was an interesting character. Like,
and in terms of the consent as well, like it's a difficult topic because technically he had consent, and the second he didn't have consent, he stopped. The problem is that the two different individuals who did that were inside the same body. So yeah, it's fucked that the person who doesn't give consent had their body used for that. But at the same time, he also went with the consent. Like the second that it was even vaguely implied that consent was gone, he didn't even like say, "Oh, we're dating." He didn't even suggest that.
It was we're friends. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like I've got mad respect for that because I just think, and I think, partly it will just be like, okay, well, we're not dating anymore. Like I think I've thought about this more than Landy has. Right? I'll admit straight up that when I was reading this bit, I was just kind of like, there are implications there that make me feel a bit ick because that's just something that triggers me anyway. So that is immediately where my brain goes. And it's just really interesting because as a kid, there's no way I'd have read that into that. Like I'd just been like, oh, they've gone from being boyfriend and girlfriend to being just friends, and she's not even that interested in being his friend, and like, you know, all kinds
of like, like she's forgotten all of their relationship.
Yeah, it's almost like she's got amnesia, but it's not that she had amnesia, it's that actually she's got a split personality, and one personality remembers what the body has done and the other one doesn't. And that,
which to be honest is a very interesting real life case study for someone who has multiple personalities when one gives consent and the other one doesn't.
Interesting. Anything else you wanted to add to that before I move on to the next point?
I like that it gave him slight morals because it's like He's a serial killer who kills people for hire,
Mm.
but he respects women as well. And it's just like,
It does give a bit to like the nature versus nurture thing, right? Because we've seen loads of characters be like, I was born evil, I was raised evil, I'm gonna be evil. Evil is what I am. But like, didn't his dad die? Or his dad die or was he arrested? I think he died, didn't he? He was the one that tried
He
to
was
block
arrested.
him up.
And then he escaped, and then I think he died.
Yeah, I think he died. So no longer having that pressure of that person who's been behind the scenes manipulating shit and like taught him everything he knows, and like, yes, his father's a killer, he's a killer, etc. I guess when you've got the guidance of more morally upstanding people, or certainly cleverer people, then you're going to have a change in personality anyway, right? Like, I think it's got that nature versus nurture vibe. And what it basically says is, kids, make sure you've got the right friends, because if you hang out with killers, you'll probably become a killer.
It sort of reminded me a bit of Spike from Buffy, where he went from being with like Drusilla, who was obviously like Drusilla, to being around Buffy in the gang, and he sort of.
See, I'm currently watching season 4 of Buffy, right? I think I've just started season 5. And I remember in my head it being like, oh, Spike goes from desperately wanting to kill Buffy, getting the chip in his head, to being sexually attracted to Buffy, to being a good guy. It takes so much longer than that.
Yeah.
Like, he tries to kill her so many more times after getting the chip in his head. And then he has this moment, and this is the episode that I watched the other day, which is where, like, she's really angry at him and he's really angry at her, and like she comes back for some reason that like to get her revenge on him or something, and then they make out, and then he wakes up and he's just like, bollocks, because it's at that point that he realizes that their hate has now turned into sexual tension, and he's not okay with that, and he's really weird with her after that. But it's just the fact that it's like, yeah, the Sanguine story is far more succinct. But in my head, the Buffy Vampire Slayer story, I was like, oh yeah, it's literally just bang, bang, bang. No. Literally, it takes months of screen time to actually get him to being like, we can be civil with each other. Because like, there's so many times when like he's got the chip in his head and he's like living in Xander's basement, and he's like, will you guys please stop forgetting that I hate you? Like, it's really good times. So.
But I've always felt like Sanguine is that Spike character, because he's sort of like been the morally grey one who sometimes helps them, sometimes goes against them, but then also isn't afraid to call them idiots the whole time.
Yeah.
Because that was Spike's job. He was to sit there, provide backup on occasion, and be like, "You're idiots! Stop it!" kind of thing. And that's sort of where Sanguine was. So now I'm wondering if there's going to be another character who's going to do a similar thing, or if we're just going to have Tanith. No, not Tanith. Kleiner going, "No, don't! I'm just going to sit here with a popcorn now," or something.
I love that. My mum has just texted me to inform me that I have a chicken pasty downstairs and a Nutella turnover waiting for me. So I'm going to set up the next point, and then I'm going to go downstairs. I'd like to point out that one of you said that Dexter, Vex, and Val were going to hook up.
I wish. Didn't happen though, did it?
No.
What made you think that was going to happen?
I didn't necessarily think it was going to happen. I just kind of hoped that it might do. So, I mean, to the
Instead, he attempted to murder her little sister, and then she did.
Yeah, I think that shocked me more was when a remnant got shoved down his. I was sitting there going, "You're really going to do them like this? Okay, great, good." And then I was just like, "Oh." But then when he went and picked the family up, right? He was just more like, I'm doing a job. I'm going to threaten you. Can you just make this easier for me? Which kind of cracked me up the entire time. And I just kind of hoped, because I was like, Valkyrie is so thirsty for this man. Like, go after what you want. Like, you know, if you're that thirsty for someone, I ain't gonna judge. You're a consenting adult. You do what you want. He also might be ancient, but like nearly everyone that Valkyrie hangs out with is ancient. That's just not, you have a pool of people. Fletcher was too immature, so go for the mature gentleman. I don't know.
I just want to say, Lizzie said, oh, everyone's a consenting adult, and it reminded me of something. So it's a deviation, but I promise it's an interesting one. When her parents find out about her being magical and being in this world since she was a kid, and their first thing is like, you're an adult now, but you weren't. I love that. Because we've discussed that at the start.
Yeah. No, I think that's worth mentioning, because like that's literally something that I was talking about in my wrap up the other day about Fire with Fire. Is I've got to the point now where absentee parents in books, I'm just like, it's just a plot trope now. Like I don't engage with it. And it can kind of take me out of the story. So I really liked that her parents were like, but logically, and like her dad is like, yeah, you're still a badass, but let's think about this. That's a lot of pressure to put on your shoulders. And like her mum is just flat out, no. I was surprised it was that way around. I thought it would be that her mum would be more supportive and her dad would be more anti it. But I guess because it's coming from his side of the family,
he's grown up with the stories.
Yeah, so I think that, but I thought it was really, really important, and I think it made it more, I think it made it harder for them when they've already said no, like you were a child, you shouldn't have been making those choices, and then they get thrown into the mix, like almost immediately after that, because then they don't get the choice either. I'm actually going to go get the food, so I will
find it interesting when, Is it Malcolm? That's her dad's name, right?
Yeah, that's her dad, yeah.
So when Malcolm finds out that his brother knew when she was a child that she was running around with Skullduggery present, because if you remember, he when she was teaching the twins, he was really angry.
Yeah,
he was really angry. But then I'm like, if as a parent you find that like the uncle knows and didn't do anything about it. Like, I think that isn't.
Especially with the fact that your brother always knew that it was true, and he lied to your face to keep you safe. But then on top of that, then knew that your child, your at the time only child, your oldest and first kid, is in this dangerous world that he protected you from, but he doesn't give a shit about them.
Yeah. And all he cared about was her not teaching the twins.
Yeah.
Also, is there going to be a fallout for, the mirror child? Is there going to be any implications for that? Like, don't actually tell me, but, like, they have to address it at some point because, one of them's dead. And a simulacrum is there now, pretending.
So, I can't say anything.
I'm not asking you to. I'm just like, there has to be some repercussion, because if not, I'll be confused.
But the thing is, as well, is that I love that she didn't phone Skullduggery first. She phoned Fergus. And you're like, weird choice, I get it, but would you have phoned him? Would you?
If she's already kind of decided that she's not going to mess with her parents' minds, why not have the magic aware and able to kind of do magic brother of one of your parents come along? He knows that magic exists. He knows that she's in that world. And he also knew it was a matter of time before his now adult little brother was going to find out. So why not say, like, it's time, stuff has happened, this is what's happened, get over here, because it's going to take it better if you're here. Like, that's another way of him protecting Desmond. Can you imagine how they would have reacted without Fergus there?
Yeah. But the thing is, as well, is like, do you think they'll ever explain that, oh, by the way, Gordon was actually technically alive for a while and he was killed by magic? Because, oh, by the way, Gordon's house, yeah, there's a murder pit down there underneath that.
I'm saying nothing.
Damn you.
I think that they probably won't address it with the brothers, that the older brother was still alive and just chose not to. Like, I don't think that will be discussed, but I don't know. I found it interesting the way the parents found out about magic, that they said about this weird memory stick, and then it took the entire book for them to watch what was on. I was like, wow, this was written when technology was prevalent, huh?
It's so accurate to like technophobic parents to not figure out how to use a memory stick.
But they just had this memory stick lying around and they didn't lose it.
Yes.
It was probably sat in like the bowl by the front door where you put the keys.
But like Valkyrie picks it up and is like, "What is this?" And her parents are like, "Ah, we don't know." And Valkyrie doesn't go, and Valkyrie just puts it down again, and then it's not mentioned until like really far into the book. And I'm like, "Wow, they left that just there."
I can say, as the child of parents who've brought random tech things that they don't understand into the house, and then I always have to fix it and tell them how to work the tech things. This is mainly my mother. My dad is perfectly competent. That is accurate. That is accurate. I'm like, what's this? I'm not touching it. You fix it yourself.
I live 3 hours away from my parents, and I when I was living in Yorkshire and my parents live in Cornwall, my mum used to Facebook message me questions on how to do things. And I'm like, Mum, I don't have time to try and figure out what the hell button you pressed. Like it's just a parent thing, I guess. But also it was the amount of time from them getting it and then doing something about it and not asking anyone how to do it that was the most unbelievable thing to me. But I did think it was brutal.
They do also have a baby/infant.
That's true.
And that is time consuming.
But my thing is that this is a house with Desmond Edgley in it, who is a complete scatterbrain who forgets trousers, socks, where he's put buildings, all the rest of it. And a toddler. And toddler's like playing with things and destroying things, and it doesn't get destroyed or lost. And I was like, how?
I maintain bowl by door that has keys. Too high up for toddler, too mundane for Malcolm to notice.
I mean, fair, but still.
Also, with how long it took, I imagine they ended up like, in my house, this would be like under paperwork that lives on top of the microwave, and that someone's finally going through it. They're like, the pile's too big. Let's have a look. Let's sort. Oh yeah, there's that memory stick from 3 months ago. Right, no, it's fine. And then that would happen about 4 times. And
we'd have binned it. Like, I'm not gonna lie, my family would have binned it. If some random had turned up and said, you know, your daughter made like a big sacrifice, and then I've got it on a USB stick, that would go in the bin. They'd be like, oh, that person's crazy, and then it would go in the bin, and they would never know. And I would continue to save the world on a regular basis with them none the wiser. They wouldn't know.
I find it very funny when she walks in the kitchen and her parents are like just sitting there with their mouths open, like, you think it's like, what have I done? And then you realize what's happened, and it's just like, oh, that's unfortunate.
But as well, like, I love her parents' reactions to skullduggery when the mask goes and like the hand comes out and things like this. I love that, where they're just like, what?
I also like how they did that, though. I like that it was kind of like consent, like getting consent. Like, they were like forewarning, like, I'm a skeleton. Everyone's a skeleton inside. Yes, I'm a skeleton. Take a moment. Can I show you?
It's that thing of like, it felt like a bit of like a coming out story, and it's like, no, I need you to understand that this doesn't change who I am. This doesn't change the way that I expect you to respond to me. But I need you to know that I'm gay. And they're like, yeah, you're happy all the time, and you're like, no, like, yes, but no, that's not.
Just the fact that Melissa is everyone has a skeleton inside of them, and it's like, Melissa, yes, everyone does have a skeleton inside of them, but the rest of us have skin suits. He has a suit.
Yeah, you've got protein in between that as well, by the way. It's not just like literally skin and bone.
Yeah, like there's meat suits. We have meat suits.
But yeah, everyone else has actual body and then a suit. Skullduggery just has a suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like that. It was like, are you ready to see this? Like, do you consent to me showing you this? You can pretend that I'm just a magical person. And they're like, no, show me that hand. I enjoyed that.
I like that they're immediately like, right, Valkyrie, you are stopping this right now. And she's like, no. I've been doing this for years now. I'm an adult. Up yours. Fight me.
Fight me.
But it's like how they've immediately gone after the fact, no, you're stopping this right now. And she's just like, no.
That, again, was very Buffy-esque of it. It was like, okay, well, stop it. And it's like, it's my destiny. I can't, and I don't want to.
Yeah. It also sort of reminded me a bit of the X-Men, where they go to Bobby's house, and Bobby's parents find out he's a mutant. and obviously her parents are a bit angrier compared to Bobby's, who are like, have you tried not being a mutant kind of thing? But it's sort of like, it just gave me that vibe the whole way through.
And I like that we get the concerned parents without it ruining the story, but without having them just kind of being written out of the story. Like, having the reflection meant that we got to keep the concerned parents and have that as a plot point throughout. But then them finding out when she's 18 means that they can't stop her, but we do still get, she's young enough for them to be like, no, we're worried for you. And yes, of course, parents will be worried for you at any age, but like 18 is like just where like you're like,
it's like finding out that they've been out like working as a paramedic, and it's like, well, now I'm old enough to be a paramedic. You can't stop me. Like, you can't stop me. It's my job now.
Sort of, yeah.
C'est la vie.
C'est la vie. So yeah, I like that it kind of gave us everything. We got no parents, but concerned parents, but parents that support. We got all of them in one, and I enjoyed that.
And then parents who get dragged into the middle of the action with
Yeah, but
no idea what to do.
That's why it's gonna be interesting when she does meet up with them again after 5 years of just being like, nope.
The eyeballs. I love that.
Wait,
the bit where they're fighting when they first get into the city that they're going to, where the remnants all are.
Oh,
and like,
and it's worst case scenario.
Malcolm struggles, and her mum's just like, everybody has eyeballs.
Yeah, that was just so good.
She's not wrong.
No, she's not.
And I like as well, like, that's realistic. Like, you, as a woman, you do think just need him in the balls. But no, Val's right. Like, it can take a second. It's going to make them angrier. Get them in the eyeballs. Like, that makes sense.
That's solid self-defense advice.
Yeah, but also as well, do you think Melissa actually has, after she was attacked a few books ago, she's then taken self-defense classes, so maybe she was a bit more prepared in that sense?
No.
No,
maybe then,
because like when she was attacked, I feel like that was the thing where she's like, oh, that's an anomaly. That's not going to happen again. Like, it's not like she was going for a walk and she got attacked. So she's like, right, this is something that could happen again. I'm going to mitigate that by learning to defend myself. I think it's more just...
It's in her own home. So I think that would have just been like, okay, this was like a freak accident of someone broke out of prison. Like, they've upped their prison defenses. Like, I bet that if anyone phones from the Edgley House 999, like, or whatever the Irish version is, they're going to be there. So I think... And also, again, like, she wouldn't have then said, oh, I'm going to kick them in the nuts. That's not the response of someone who's had self-defense training.
No.
Yeah, good point.
Just because it isn't what you should do. It's what we all would do, but it's not what you're supposed to do.
In the next live stream we have, Abby is going to go through some basic self-defense with all of us. But in the meantime, the next point on my board is Scapegrace and Thrasher get together.
Right, this one I put a question mark against. And I'll tell you for why. There's a whole thing when Scapegrace is convinced that Thrasher is dead. And that whole scene broke my heart, and I was like, right, this doesn't fucking count. I am upset. Because as soon as he realized that Thrasher is still alive, he's like, no, you're an idiot, blah, blah, blah. Like, you went straight back to what he's normally like. It's that moment of he realizes that he cares about Thrasher so much, and he doesn't want Thrasher to not be there anymore. I was like, oh, there is a place for him in your heart.
Nah, they're in a relationship. They are fully in a relationship. Because there are parts where Thrasher is like, oh, Scapegrace is obviously really upset today because he hasn't been mean to me once. And like, they're so attuned to each other. And then there's that bit where it's just like, yeah, I don't want to be without you. And I was like, they're a couple. They're not a traditional, they're not necessarily heteronormative. They are a couple, though. That's a shit.
I love them. I love them, and I'll be sad if they don't continue this way.
The Zombie King.
Yeah.
The fact that came back
The
And
fact
the fact that he declined it.
No, but the fact that they went up there and fought like absolute shit, like didn't do very well. And also the fact that the guy who was like, "Oh, but you're the zombie king, so yeah, I will fight you." It's against the rules, but because like you have this big thing with the dead, like bigging you up, like sure. And then they do really badly, and then all the like dead people are like, "We want you as our king anyway." It's like this guy is clearly completely useless, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, his heart's in the right place.
But I really enjoyed them. But I did put it as a question mark because I was like, what are we counting? But if people
I'm
are
allowing
like,
it.
count it,
I'm
then I would
allowing it.
because
They
I
got
was like
together.
convinced
They're a couple now.
they deserve each other, and
They- well,
especially because
don't
they're
they
getting their
just?
musicals back.
They'll just stumble through a relationship together, literally, figuratively, everything else. Because aren't they now back in their zombie bodies as well?
Oh, they found their zombie bodies, haven't they?
Yeah, I think so.
In a
Which
tank.
means they're going to be basically falling to pieces again.
Well, no,
However,
'cause they
they were
fixed
being
it.
experimented on, so they were able to reverse some of the degeneration. So maybe they've also been able to stop it.
Maybe.
Because they're in those vegetable brains inside of the body. So if they've been able to reverse some of the degeneration, they should be able to fix the issues that they had with the fight.
Can we just talk about the fact that they have vegetables for brains? Because
I mean, it's not that
they're
different.
saying they are vegetables, and that's what you say about really stupid people. I was like, Derek Landy has been sitting on that joke for about 10 years now, and he's finally had a chance to use it. I was practically on the floor at that point. I was laughing so hard. Funniest thing.
Okay, so what's the next one, Hannah? Your board is in a different order to mine.
No. Next on my list is Skullduggery Dice. And obviously that was one of the first things we discussed. When he rocks up at the end, I was like, well done. Well done, sir.
But also, he goes into Necropolis, and you can only go there if you're dead.
Well, I mean, he's already is. I think that's really the discussion, isn't it? He is just a sentient skeleton. It doesn't make him any less alive or any less dead. I think he's both. He's got one foot in the grave and one foot that refuses to then go into the grave. So, in a technicality, he's dead, but he isn't. And I think if he just ceased to exist fully, then we could say he died, but he didn't. So,
Fine.
Yeah,
I would still count it, though. I mean, I don't make the rules.
I didn't count it because he doesn't die in this narrative. His soul does not cease to be. He is undead continuously.
He's still up, he's still moving, he's still talking, he's still alive.
Well, sentient at least.
Oh, but Dark S thinks she killed him.
Okay. This
Well,
is
the
Dark
Dark
S's bingo board. It's mine.
But Darkest thought she killed a lot of people.
She
She
did.
didn't.
And then she creepily kissed him on the teeth.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, didn't like that.
No. Although it does make this cover make more sense.
Sorry, I'm trying. The reason I keep getting distracted is because I'm trying to sort out. My mum told me I had a Nutella turnover for me downstairs, so I went downstairs to get it. I had my chicken and bacon pasty because I'm very hungry, and then Dad told me that there was only one cherry turnover, and he and Mum had shared that, so there were only 2 Nutella ones left. Except I've just bitten into that turnover, and that is a cherry turnover. So I'm trying to work out if it was wrong and they actually got 2 cherry ones and a Nutella one, because my mum and dad have already had one that they've shared, or am I supposed to eat it? I don't know what's going on, and I don't want to eat the cherry one if someone else is supposed to be having the cherry one and I've got a Nutella one. I don't care either way. I'll eat all of them if given the chance, but that's why I keep getting distracted, because I'm texting my family because they're 3 floors down and I don't want to walk down those stairs again on this bad foot. So that's why I keep getting distracted, in case you were wondering.
What's next on the list, though?
After Skullduggery dying, let's see. Malcolm Has Magic is one of them. I don't think it's next, because obviously we've all got them in different orders. But
I've got Tanith is healed from the Revenant, which we've already discussed, and Malcolm Has Magic. That was the last one on that board.
Have we discussed, did I miss when my internet went, Alice being evil?
But we haven't discussed that one yet.
No.
Oh, I thought we had. I must have skipped it by accident. I think
She's
that's
gonna be evil. She's gonna be evil. That is the villain origin story right there. Your sister murders you. You're just gonna expect no repercussions. If this is not a villain origin story, what are you doing?
The thing is that she's currently 6 by the end of the book. Can you imagine a little evil 6-year-old?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it'd be like reading I Hate Fairyland. I don't know if anyone's read that one. It's a comic where a 6-year-old gets trapped in fairyland for 30 years and she basically becomes Deadpool. Fourth wall breaking, axe wielding, murderer, murdering her way around fairyland. It's very funny and very gory. But that's what I imagine when I imagine an evil Alice. It's just I Hate Fairyland. Which is weird, I know, but that's what I see. But if she's
I cannot react to any statements until we move on. Because I cannot talk about the future of this child.
Cannot talk about the future.
That's fine, but I'm convinced that she is evil. I've thought that for a long time, though. That's like...
I know she's on the front cover. I'm guessing it's her on the front cover of Midnight, which is not the next book, it's the book after. And it looks like Valkyrie's like holding on to her. Oh,
Yes.
Had to die. Give me a second.
Oh, I don't know what the UK cover looks like, though. No, not the UK, on the paperback. The
Yeah,
paperback
that's
one.
basically it, but it's just white and blue.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
with the new ones, they're more similar between paperback and hardback.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's Alice.
Oh, she looks creepy. Ugh.
She does.
He looks creepy. What the fuck is that? That's not a child's face.
It is a child's face. It's a creepy child's face.
It's a ghoul.
It's a
Yeah.
Okay, so we've discussed Alice. Let us move on before you accidentally get some form of spoiler one way, t'other, another. The last one was Malcolm having magic.
He hasn't been given the opportunity to show that he has any ability yet. Like, I think he might have some innate, like, he has it somewhere. But I think it's buried so far deep in the normality of being a normal, boring parent that it just hasn't come out yet. So I think we will see it.
At the same time, though, I kind of hope he doesn't, because can you imagine if he could start fires with his bare hands? That
But also
house wouldn't survive.
I reckon he'll be
unfair
like an adept. I reckon he'll be an adept, and it'll be that he has an ability to do a particular thing as opposed to like an elemental.
Yeah. Agreed.
I reckon it'll be something like that. Because like he's really good at what he does, right? Like he's a real like people are talking about how he's like, I don't know if I'm making this up, but I feel like he's won awards for his architecture. Like people know him as a great man. But he is a scatterbrain. So it's like, how can you be someone who is that organized and that good at doing your job, but this flaky in real life? I feel like there's something going on there. Maybe
But
he's
how pissed off would you be if both your brothers had magic and your grandfather did and you don't? How pissed would you be?
Gordon
And your
didn't
daughter
have
does.
magic. Gordon
Okay,
did, but Gordon knew about it.
Gordon
Yes,
did
he
know.
didn't have magic, but he was very involved in the world.
And how angry would you be if you weren't involved? One of your brothers was but didn't have magic. One of your brothers does have magic, and you're just like, it would really annoy me as a
And your
family.
daughter's the death bringer.
But Desmond isn't as angry as you are. I feel like if anyone would be chill about it, of the three of them, he's probably the only one that wouldn't be mad about it.
He would
True.
probably say himself, it's probably a good idea. I'd probably accidentally murder him.
Melissa would turn to him and be like, it's for the best, hon. And he'd be like, you're right.
But I do think there has to be some sort of some sort of ability that he's buried so deep, because it's just like you birthed the Deathbringer. Like that came from somewhere.
I know a spoiler now. I'm trying to shut up.
Good work on that.
Yeah,
I know a spoiler. Okay. Good to know.
To help Becca, I'm going to say, Hannah gets to eat the pie, turnover, pastry thing.
Yay!
I mean, you've got
Yeah,
a much
they
better face,
They have
so-
had a cherry one already. So my mum reckons that the lady must have picked up the wrong one, which is fine. I don't feel guilty about eating it now.
What did you say, Lizzie?
I said you've got a much better poker face than usual, because you haven't broken at anything anyone said at all. That might just be because we might be so far off the mark, but also I'm assuming it's a good poker face.
It's 9 months of practice at this point.
Yes.
We were terrible at the beginning. We were.
Next time we do a read along, we'll make sure it's a series none of us have read before.
I mean, to be fair,
one we've all read before.
I wasn't involved to begin with. You just kind of went, oh shit, you read them a lot. Do you want to join? And I was like, yeah.
I'd like to point out that of the 8 people that have come and gone from this, Becca is the only one that started the first day I mentioned it. Everyone else has just been bullied into it. So
I was not bullied, I was invited.
I was strongly suggested to read it.
Abby, I semi-bullied you into it because I was mentioning it and you were like, oh, I don't know if I want to reread them right now. And I was like, do it now. Join now. And I basically...
I listened that Becca bullied me into it. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I bully people into these things. It's fine.
I don't remember being bullied. I think the thing is, I've always wanted to do a read along. That was one of the first things when I started BookTube I really wanted to work towards doing. But I just didn't know what I wanted to do it on. And I knew that the read alongs that I follow were usually for book series that I found quite intimidating. So I didn't want it to be a book series that was particularly long. 15 books later. So I wanted to find something that was like a middle grade that was actually going to engage me. And I was so nervous about picking Skullduggery that I was kind of like, right, if I get to book 3 and I don't like it anymore, I'm just going to call it at that end of that trilogy. And here we are, a whole year later, which is still going. I've never committed to anything the way I've committed to this Skullduggery read along, just FYI.
Proud of you.
Except for maybe uni, but that's because I was paying for it.
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm living with my partner, I get to relieve some of the tension of not being able to tell you guys about how things link in. Because what I will do after this is I will go downstairs to Chris and I'll be like, so they said this and they think this is going to happen. And it's not, it's this instead. And they guessed this. And he's going to just go, okay. He doesn't care. He will never read them. Ever.
Mm-hmm.
I've been reading this since we got together. We've been together for 5 years. He will never read them. But I just get to vomit it all at him. And he's just like, ah, yes, the skeleton man.
I am very excited to start the next book.
I was going to say, we've got like a week to read it. So I hope you're excited.
Do we? When's the next live stream?
I haven't decided, but we've got 3 days till the end of the month. So
this is the thing. It's on my November TBR, and I kind of want to like actually manage a TBR coming back from like almost 2 months of failing everything in life apart from the essentials. So I'm going to be starting this when we finish the show.
See,
at least it's smaller.
It's 412 pages long.
It's still less.
Yeah.
That's 200 pages fewer.
Yeah. But I'm just sitting here going, I've got 5k left to write and a whole load of other things to do. And there's no way.
You can tell that there was a gap. I got these both on release day. This one is yellow and this one is white. And that's the bottom of them as well, so it's not even like it's sun damage. This one is newer. By quite a way. That's the point. Hannah, which covers do you have for the next book, for Resurrection? The next season? That is... Ooh, okay.
So it's a continuation on, and it also continues their spine thing.
I kind of want the spine thing. Do I need the spine thing? No.
The spine thing is so fun. I love the spine.
Do you have this on the back?
No.
I so want the spine thing, but I've only got up to midnight in the paperback, so I'm going to be ordering the rest off Waypoint as they come out on Waypoint. Because I've got the rest of them in hardback, but I'm like, I'm not going to get rid of these. These are signed. I'm going to put these in a special place and then just continue it.
Place.
I don't know where.
That reminds me, I need to order 11, 12, 13, and 14 from you because that's
do
where
it soon, because Waypoint has a 10% off for Small Business Saturday today. So this is an FYI.
But I shouldn't buy any more books this month. So I bought Christmas presents for people, and I'm now on the verge. I would love to, and I'd love to get 10% off, but I'm also should be conserving money.
No, you're right. You're right.
Does anyone have any more points about?
I don't. I think I've said everything that I wanted to say about it because it was mainly the hat thing that got me. That obviously was the first thing that I mentioned. I thought it was interesting that China Soros' story is just running from place to place in the last one, and then just running the whole thing, like the difference in power struggle for her. And obviously, because there's a bit of a time skip as well, you kind of have her being like, yeah, so I've established it this way. This is how this works now. As a leader was quite interesting. Because she's not a nice person, but we didn't expect her to be. We didn't expect her to become nicer the more power she had. But that was kind of it. That was the only other thing that I felt needed mentioning.
I was gonna mention about the flash forwards. What did everyone think about the flash forwards?
Oh yeah, like that completely separate storyline that we just haven't discussed.
Yeah,
That was the bit that I loved, and that's what gave me 5 stars. Because when the penny dropped, that it was Val in those features and not Stephanie, I was like blown away. Because that whole thing, I was like, oh, okay, so I can see how this ends. Like from the beginning of the book. Of course, I should know Derek Landy better by now. That it's not gonna be that simple. But like the fact that she had a German Shepherd and she told, and like they had a conversation of like, you can move to America and get a dog, and then like Valkyrie goes and does that for a bit. I was just like, I really liked it, and I like the shopkeeper guy who is just trying to do his best, but he has no fucking clue what he's doing.
To be fair, Danny does damn well for a random like mortal civvy who knows nothing, can't fight, has no magic, just a random dude.
The fact that he's totally not freaking out the entire time he's in the boot of that random guy's car really cracks me up, where he's just like, well, this is my fate now.
but he's sort of like a Sally Sparrow in the sense that he turns up, he's a random companion for the day, and then buggers back off again, and we never see him again. It was.
Oh, he's not in the next one then. All right.
Oh, I hope he's in.
He's not read the next one.
I haven't read it. So
I haven't read it. How cool would it be if he just has like some casual little cameos?
Yeah, I hope he's in it. I hope he's in it in some way, shape, or form. Just like if it's just a phone call.
Valkyrie just randomly texts him on occasion. Like, how's it going?
She's never rude to him, but it's just the fact that he just has this like vibe around her. I think it's really interesting because all of those scenes are like from his perspective, basically. Like we're sat on his shoulder rather than Valkyrie's. And even though it's not first person, it's close third. I think it's really interesting to see how she's perceived by other people. And that is the bit that was clever, is the fact that we have this really like jarring reaction to her because we're expecting it to be the reflection, and then it's not the reflection. And they're not dead, and it's all a good time. It's all a good.
Is that what you all assumed? That it was the reflection?
Yep.
Yeah, because they're calling them Stephanie. So
the entire time until Stephanie got yeeted off planet Earth, I was convinced that it was her and the in America with the dog, because they open it up and it's someone who seems to not use magic. Or have need to use magic in America, keeping herself to herself. And it's just like there's no reason to think it isn't the reflection unless you know it's not, I guess.
See, I assumed it was the reflection even after the reflection had died, because I was like, oh sure, they'll bring them back. And because like that's happened before. I've seen that in fiction. And I just assumed she was retired. That she was like, I've gone to America to carve something out for myself, and chances are people will still come and try and get me because I'm associated with Valkyrie and all that sort of like those shenanigans. So like she still has enemies, but she's retired, so she's kind of like, you know what I mean? I thought it was that kind of. I didn't realize it was going to become like a John Wick style retirement, you know?
With the house, the creepy house, I had thought that came so much earlier in the series. For some reason, I've been waiting for that to turn up because I remember that house. But like, it's so weird, and I just assumed that was earlier in the series, and it's not. What about you, Lizzie? Anything specific that you want to discuss from Dying of the Light?
Just I really enjoyed this one. Like it was a lot of fun. A lot of things happened. A lot of people died. And it's definitely not a middle grade series anymore. Like we are now firmly planted into the, YA side of things.
Right.
And I'm really enjoying it, and it's made me want to continue. Like, I'm glad Derek Landy decided to continue, because I'm like, it kind of ended with a bang, and I was like, I respect that as an ending. Like, if you had committed to killing off Skullduggery, I'd be like, okay, that is a way to do it. Like, props. But I'm also glad that he didn't do that, so we have more story to read, because I'm really enjoying it.
I really enjoy that. Props.
Also, we haven't mentioned Valkyrie's new powers, because she surged and she's now got these weird powers.
Oh yeah, her lightning bolt shenanigans.
Yeah.
I didn't mention them because obviously I know more about them.
See, Lizzie and I are making Palpatine references. Not that you will realise off the back of what we're doing as a Palpatine reference. We play D&D together. For those of you watching, Lizzie and I play D&D together. I am DM, and Lizzie is currently a tiefling. And at one point yesterday, Danny, who is playing a satyr, decided they were going to use like a lightning bolt type of thing. And Lizzie and I immediately went Palpatine with it and was like, it's going to be ultimate power, like thing, like that he does. So when you mention lightning bolts, of course, immediately Lizzie and I did this, because that's how he does it. So just thought I'd share that with you so that you understood why Lizzie and I, out of nothing apparently, decided to start waving our fingies about.
Yes. Valkyrie's powers. I was like, well, that's that's convenient that you have the surge at the right time. I mean, convenience. But no, I was like, okay, we were all waiting for this to happen, I guess. But lucky it still happened, considering you thought all magic had been ripped out of your head.
But it wasn't.
I read it as it wasn't that she had her surge at the right time. It was that the zappy thing, the magic sucker, fantastic name. It has to like store that power somewhere that it's taken. It's naturally replenished because you're naturally magical, but it has to store it. So in my head, it's just that this thing broke. It released a load of power that went into what we'd already been told was described as essentially an empty vessel for magic. And so then the fact that she had so much magic go into her, it then caused
it acts as a surge. Yeah.
And it like basically it was triggered by just like, oh, here's like we've zapped Darkess X number of times. Here's all of that power just blasted at you, and it just caused the surge, is how I took it. And she's also the right age for it as well, like at 18.
I mean, that's probably right. I just didn't read that way, but I mean, it makes sense, and we all knew it was going to happen eventually, because that's been talked about for books now. So I don't know. I'd be interested to see how that plays out with the lightning.
Yeah, I like that it's sort of like the opposite of necromancy, because with the necromancy it's all shadows and all the rest of it, but now she's light, and I don't know if that's going to be the metaphor now that she's gotten rid of Darkess. She's gotten rid of the, to use the term from Dexter, dark passenger, and she's now lighter for it. I don't know if I'm being too.
I hope not. I like Darkness though. I hope that Valkyrie isn't, because Stephanie tried to be good, right? That was the thing. The reflection tried to be. Hannah, you know something. That face.
No. I'm trying not to laugh at the troll comment that just popped up from Dying Light Fact 216. I'm not going to put it up on the screen, but just the fact that the comment popped up, and I was like, I have this response to trolls, which is, we've made it. Because like the fact that it's been seen on someone's For You page, I don't. I know that others do. Do you? Like, it's just like it's such a weird comment. I just enjoyed it. So sorry, Lizzie, you were saying.
What was I saying? Okay, yeah. Stephanie was trying to be good, to be completely different from Valkyrie, and be like the angel child that did everything. And she convinced herself that murdering people was the way to make her into the nicest person she could be, which was, you know, whatever. So I kind of feel like Valkyrie will always, like, she will realize that she isn't the lightest of the light, because Darkess wasn't just her evil coming through. Like, I think it's a discussion of like, you can't be one or the other. Like everyone's a little bit of
Everyone's
both.
a bit of grey, yeah. And it's like we've seen that in their behavior anyway. Like she was making decisions that even Darkess was like a bit. She killed her sister, so yeah.
But she also says in the flash forward chapters, like when they keep being like, "Have we got the bad one or the good one?" And she's like, "I'm both."
Yeah. And I think that's the kind of question. I don't think it'll be so like I don't think it'll be that obvious if it is supposed to be a flip on that she was Darkess, but now she's got all these light powers. Because I'm like, I think there's more to it, and we haven't seen enough of those powers yet to make that kind of jump. But I would be disappointed if that's where Derek Landy took it, because I think Derek Landy is cleverer as a writer than that. So we'll see.
We will. And that's the only spoiler I'll give you.
We will.
We will.
Okay, so shall we discuss then book 10? I will read my piddly description that's slightly less piddly than usual, and then you can tell
Mine
me.
is also a bit bigger than usual.
Oh no.
That's an essay.
Okay. So Skullduggery Pleasant is dead. Valkyrie Kane is cool. Omen Darkly is neither. This is a bit that I'm really excited about because Kieran has been desperate to talk to me about Omen Darkly, and I've had to keep telling him no.
I'm so excited to have you guys learn about Omen.
So the 10th book in the best-selling series and the whole new story arc. Valkyrie Kane has been out of action for years, recovering from war against her alter ego, Darkess. But Skullduggery Pleasant is still fighting to save the world. When an old enemy threatens to return, he persuades Valkyrie to join him for just 24 hours. But they need someone else, someone inconspicuous. Enter Omen Darkly. Not a warrior, not a detective, and definitely not the chosen one. Intrigue.
I don't want to like anyone else.
And I've got enough characters to like, thank you.
No, I mean, I just don't want to fall in love with another character the same way I loved Ghastly, for them to be ripped out of my hands the way that Derek Landy likes to do.
Yeah.
So I don't trust anyone new coming in because I'm like, well, Derek Landy might just murder them off in the next book. We don't know.
Are you ready for the essay?
Please.
It has the same thing of like Skull, Val, Omen. Then, a lot has changed. Rawhaven is now a magical city, a capital where sorcerers can live openly. Valkyrie Kane has been out of action for years, recovering from the war against her alter ego Darkess, which nearly destroyed her and everyone else. Some things never change, though. Bad people still want to do bad things, and Skullduggery Pleasant is still there to stop them. When Skullduggery learns of a plot to resurrect a terrifying evil, he persuades Valkyrie to join him for just 24 hours. But they need someone else on their team, someone inconspicuous, someone who can go undercover. Enter Omen Darkly, not a warrior, not a detective, and definitely not the chosen one. 24 hours to save the world. One sharply dressed skeleton, one grief-stricken young woman, one teenage boy who can't even remember what class he's supposed to be in.
Oh, this is going to be chaotic.
Yeah,
And then
I'm excited.
I have a quote on the back which reads, Omen Darkly, Skullduggery said. I realise this is a lot to take in, but we have to know. Will you help us save the world?
See, now, like for ages, in the most recent Dead or Alive one, obviously the print is of Skullduggery, Valkyrie, and some blonde boy with dark eyes. And I've assumed that it's Fletcher. And that it's going to be something Fletcher related, because he's the only blonde boy that we've met thus far. And now I'm like, it's going to be Omen Darkly, isn't it? It's going to be shenanigans. Yeah, there, Abby.
Yep, the door just opened.
Creepy.
My partner's doing something in the loft and the door reacted to it.
Okay.
Thank you, love you. He shut the door.
Thank you, love you. Okay.
Which cover did you think had Fletcher on?
Okay, so I think I've packed my copy, but I've got my art print that I've put in a frame because I'm that dickhead.
Oh, the Dead or Alive one.
Yeah. Sorry, my lights just flickered and I've just suddenly gone to something in the house.
Right. Are we all haunted? Is that what's happening? And I mean this one.
Yeah, I've got that framed.
Well, it's signed. I'm not going to not frame it.
Yeah. Mine's on
And
my
also, it's quite a nice frame. I hope you're looking forward to having this on one of our gallery walls, Lizzie. This is coming.
I mean, that's better than the picture that Danny's going to have up. That's way better than that shit that's going to be on our walls.
Yeah.
As a
I've got a
side,
print.
mum got Danny a diamond painting of a picture of Danny's face and Danny's cat Percy. But Danny's cat Percy looks like she doesn't want to be there at all. So it's the funniest picture I've seen in my life. And I'm like, oh, it's in the one hand it's really sweet, but it's also really
It's really creepy. It's really creepy. But I think what we need to do is we'll have it somewhere in the gallery wall, and then when Danny's mum comes, we'll put it on the wall. When Danny's mum's not there, we'll have something else in that place. So it doesn't look out of place, depending on which one we've got. It's still same size, same shape, etc. I think that's how we're gonna have to do this. You know,
the thing you have to consider though is that Danny calls her mum a lot, and if Danny accidentally shows her that wall, that could get interesting. Is Danny
going to be calling her whilst walking through? We will do it on like the one that's outside our rooms, right? Because it's quite dark. Because then I reckon we could get away with it.
Yep.
Moving on from deceiving Danny's mother.
Yes.
Thoughts. I can't partake, so I've just decided I'm just going to make you talk.
I'm intrigued. I want to know who the old enemy is, because I assume if it's an old enemy, it's someone that we're familiar with, right? I'm also intrigued because what is the orb? What is the orb? What's going on there?
That'll be one of her new powers. Although it looks like a like one of those old lamps that like you used to be able to hold, and then like the lightning bolts used to.
It looks like a remembrall.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, looks like a plasma ball to me.
I do think the past enemy, though, the old enemy, I think is going to be the return of like Lord Vile or someone. That's where my mind goes, because I'm like, we know who this person is. Anyone? Well, unless it's whatever his name is, who's still alive in the other place.
Oh, what, the red-handed guy? What's his face? That guy.
Serpine.
That's it. He does look Serpine-esque, doesn't he? He does look Serpine-shaped.
I don't know.
Yeah. That could be a snow globe. It could just be that it's a festive one for December.
I thought it was a remembrall.
A remembrall. Casual
What's
reference.
throwing me is that it looks like it's fire around them, and I'm like, who's fire related?
Skullduggery.
I don't know, but somehow her hair's gotten worse. Because, like, so there, she's got it like sweeping to the side, right? She looks better with bangs. We'll ignore that, but like that, it's just swept. It's kind of caught in the wind. This one, it's almost like she's had too much taken off at the top. What's going on with her hair there?
Hannah, what a thing to be complaining about.
Wait, leave it there so we can compare them. Yep,
you must get closer.
I can, but the quality goes down.
She has got quite a forehead, I do admit. She
does. She's got strong eyebrows, I'll give her that.
Nothing wrong with the forehead. Nothing wrong with the forehead, I just don't like mine.
As a woman with black hair, a large forehead, and eyebrows, I volunteer as tribute. Thank you.
Oh, so Abby is actually Darkest. Okay.
We've been learning your story, the story of your life this whole time.
Yeah. Like, I looked like that and then I dyed my hair green. So, not me anymore.
Is it just me? Or do they keep putting people in the middle that are going to die? Because, like, we've got Sanguine right in the middle there. I'm pretty sure Ghastly Bespoke was in the middle of the last one. Like, in the middle of the front cover. Is that on purpose, or is that just a coinky-dink?
I don't know.
I'm going to put money on no one dying in this one, because there's no one in the middle.
Wait, show me the cover for Midnight.
I don't know what Midnight one is. I've had to pack loads of stuff. I think I've packed that one.
Because I have it. And no one's in the middle of mine. Well, no, that's a lie. Skullduggery.
And Alice? But we'll see.
But she's already died.
She could die again.
I'm genuinely worried that I've packed December's book, though. Because I'm like, right, I've got November's. What have I done with December's book?
Literally, my parents came last weekend, and I made them bring down Midnight.
I'm an idiot. It was there the whole time.
Oh, it's the same.
Oh, it is exactly. Oh God, she's so creepy. Oh,
He looks
What's on the
sad.
back of yours, Hannah?
On the back, I'm assuming that's Omen Darkly looking all worried with his sword. Is he holding his sword wrong?
Is that a stick?
Or it's like a wand, isn't it?
Do they use wands now?
He does.
What's the betting he's a necromancer and that's his object?
Could well be.
What if he's a really bad necromancer?
Necromancer? I'm supposed to be a necromancer.
Oh, shush.
Oh, necromancers! I do so hate a necromancer.
Can we pause in insulting Becca? We can resume in a second.
Okay, fine.
There's a person in the window.
Where?
I promise
really?
that's a person.
That's
Where?
a person.
where?
That little grey blob, I promise, looking at that IRL, that is the outline of the person. Oh my god, I can even see like a top and eyes.
You're going to have
Anyway,
to take a
Becca,
photo
you're
and
really
send this.
southern. Becca, you're very southern. Just saying.
Yeah, I know.
Necromancer.
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 Okay. Right. Well, then let's wrap this up because I've got a book to go and read. And I've also got a TBR video I need to finish filming for. So
I've got
this is
two books to go and read. I've got to read the one for tomorrow's live show and that one.
I still don't know what I'm going to talk about in tomorrow's live show, but do you want to give a shout out to tomorrow's live show and tell people what it is we'll be doing?
Sure, I can try. I always botch this up. Tomorrow's live show is for the book club that Hannah is part of, and Danny and Bookworm's Feast, which is another Hannah, are doing a book club live show for Bevies and Books. And this month's prompt was for mulled cider and a cozy read. So we are all supposed to have read cozy reads, but this month has been rough for us all. And I'm still reading mine. But
I
yeah,
haven't picked either of mine up. They're both sat just here. I've not picked up either of them. I gave myself options and I still didn't read them.
Well, if you want to come and watch that unfold, it's on tomorrow evening at 7.
It's on Danny's channel. It's over on Danny's Bookish, and Danny only ever
That's
says me the
Danny.
link about 5 minutes before. So
Yeah, Danny does that. But yeah, it's on Bookish Danny's channel, and come check it out if you want to watch us flounder trying to talk about books we've not read.
yeah, I'm gonna have to just find every cozy book I've ever read and then just pick one. But anyway, Ambi, is there anything you want to shout out? Sweet. Becca, is there anything you want to shout out?
Check out the Comic Book Sanctum, which is my website dedicated to Marvel Comics. It's got loads of Hawkeye stuff and also Spider-Man stuff coming up. And I have also just launched an Etsy store which sells bookish goodies and bookish bullet journal stuff. And there's going to be a shop drop on Monday, and it's called The Book Sanctum.
That's exciting. That's exciting.
Check that out, please.
Do it. And yep, the only thing I ever shout out is Waypoint Books. Go treat yourself to something new. We've got a discount code of 10% off that will last until midnight tonight, which is SBS21, because it's Small Business Saturday. So go and buy your books local, please. And other than that, I hope you've all had fun. Thanks for joining us. And thanks for commenting, except for you, Dying Light Hack 216, though that did amuse me. And we will see you probably in a couple of weeks with the next one. Until then, bye.
Bye.